should be initiating that one person. That's the agreement.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
That's it. Right. I'm good with that.
I am
Clean the process up, then
Yeah.
I'll talk to him and we'll go.
All right.
Crazy, guy, not. Just be like that. I wouldn't sit in a room alone with this guy. Now, like.
Right, good morning, ready to get started. Call the April 25th, 2024 meeting to order. This public meeting of the Columbia Board of Pensions and Retirement is being conducted in person in the board's conference room at the board offices on the 16th floor of 2 Penn Center. Pursuant to section 21-1503 of the Philadelphia Code, electronic recordings of this meeting will be made through Microsoft Teams conference technology and by an audio recording. An electronic recording will be made available to the public online on the board's website without charge within 10 days. Please note that you can consent to such recording by attending this meeting or speaking at such meeting. Our first order of business is a motion to adopt the rules of order that the board has approved and used for our in-person public meetings that are electronically recorded. The purpose is to help ensure that accurate and complete audio or audio-visual recordings of the meeting occur to comply with the code requirements. Item 1, motion to adopt the procedures for today's meeting was made and seconded. Any discussion on the pending motion? Hearing none, we'll go through the roll. Brian? Francois?
Approved.
Marcia? Approved. Paul?
Approved.
Andrea? Approved. Willie?
Approved.
Adam?
Approved.
And Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 2, approval of our meeting minutes from the March 28th meeting was properly made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll. Brian? Francois?
Staying.
Marcia? Approved. Paul? Andrea? Approved. Willie?
Approved.
Adam?
Approved.
And Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries 7-0 with 1 abstention noted. Item 3, motion to approve 159 pension applications and 71 withdrawal applications was made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Brian? Francois?
Approved.
Marcia? Approved. Paul?
Approved.
Andrea? Approved. Willie?
Approved.
Adam?
Approved.
And Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries unanimously. Section 4, case 4A. The motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Anthony Kane was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 4A? Hearing none. Brian?
Approved.
Francois?
Denied.
Marcia?
Denied.
Paul?
Approved.
Andrea? Approved. Willie?
Approved.
Adam?
Staying.
And Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries 5-2 with 1 abstention. Case 4B, the motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Jamil Martin was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 4B? Brian?
Approved.
Francois?
Denied.
Marcia?
Denied.
Paul?
Approved.
Andrea? Willie?
Approved.
Adam?
Staying.
And Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries 5-2 with 1 abstention. Case 4C, a motion to approve service-connected disability benefits for Derek Smith was made and properly seconded. Any discussion from the board on 4C? If not, go to the roll. Brian?
Approved.
Francois?
Denied.
Marcia?
Denied.
Paul?
Approved.
Andrea? Approved. Willie?
Approved.
Adam?
Staying.
And Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries 5-2 with 1 abstention. Case 4D, motion to approve service-connected disability benefits for Jeffrey Neary is made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 4D? Brian?
Abstain.
Francois?
Denied.
Marcia?
Denied.
Paul?
Abstain.
Andrea? Willie?
Abstain.
Adam?
Abstain.
And Carol.
Abstain.
Motion fails 0-3 with 5 abstentions. Case 4E, a motion to approve the service-connected disability benefits for Evelyn Aponte was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 4E? Brian?
Approved.
Francois,
Deny.
Marshall,
Deny.
Paul, Andrea, deny. Willie,
Approved.
Adam,
Abstain.
Carol.
Approved.
The vote was 4-3 with one abstention. As the chair, I'll vote to make it 5, or voting to deny. So the case fails 4-4 with one abstention. Case 4F, a motion to approve the service connected disability benefits for Maria Bozovic was made and properly seconded, and the discussion on case 4F. Hearing none, Brian, Swan,
Deny.
Marcia,
Deny.
Paul,
Approved.
Andrea, Willie,
Approved.
Adam,
Abstain.
and Carol.
Approved.
The vote was 4-3 with one abstention, and as chair, I'll vote to deny, so 4F fails 4-4 with one abstention noted. 4G, a motion to approve the service connected disability benefits for Stephen Harris was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 4G? Hearing none. Brian,
Approved.
Francois,
Deny.
Marcia,
Deny.
Paul,
Approved.
Andrea, approved. Willie,
Approved.
Adam,
Abstain.
and Carol.
Approved.
The motion carries 5-2 with one extension. 4H, a motion to approve the service connected disability benefits for Anthony Rongia, which was made and properly seconded. I mean, sorry if I butchered the last name. Question other than my bad pronunciation. Hearing none, Brian,
I will abstain.
Francois,
Deny.
Marcia,
Deny.
Paul,
Abstain.
Andrea, Willie, Adam,
Abstain.
and Carol.
Abstain.
The motion fails 0-3 with 5 abstentions. Case 9. Case 4I, motion to approve the service connected disability benefits for Ronaldo Crusade was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 4I? Hearing none, Brian,
I abstain.
Francois,
Deny.
Marcia,
Deny.
Paul,
Abstain.
Andrea, Willie,
Abstain.
Adam,
Abstain.
and Carol.
Approved.
Motion fails 0-3 with 5 abstentions. Case 4J, a motion to approve the service connected disability benefits for Jeffrey Satchel was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 4J? Brian,
I abstain.
Francois, Marcia,
Deny.
Paul,
Abstain.
Andrea, Willie,
Abstain.
Adam,
Abstain.
and Carol. Motion fails 0-3 with 5 abstentions. Case 4K, a motion to approve the service connected disability benefits for Michael Rugen was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 4K? Brian,
I approve.
Francois,
Deny. Yep, sorry. Approved.
approved, okay.
Approved.
Paul,
Approved.
Andrea, approved. Willie,
Approved.
Adam,
Approved.
motion carries unanimously. 4L, a motion.
With the notch.
Yes.
A motion to approve, service connected disability benefits for Chris Williams, or 4L was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 4L? Hearing none, Brian.
I abstain.
Francois,
I deny. Really?
Marcia,
Deny.
Paul,
Abstain.
Andrea, Willie,
Abstain.
Adam,
Abstain.
and Carol.
Abstain.
Motion fails 0-3 with 5 abstentions. Case section 5, case 5A, a motion to approve the application for service connected death benefits for regarding Patrick Austin was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 5A? Brian.
So Dr. Hayworth's opinion on this Mr. Austin does not meet the criteria of the ordinance establishing presumption of those who have worked in positions in contact with the public, blah, blah, blah. First of all, she's overstepping her position here. Her role, the role of risk management, and they do this. I think they should be cautioned to not do this because it weighs the opinion of this board. The board decides if this was solely due to work. The board make that, the doctor does not make that determination. Her job, their job is to decide was it solely due to work or not. That's it. We don't need to know if he meets the criteria of the legislation. That's not the job of risk management. I would caution them to not do that in the future. Now, if you look at the criteria, we've passed in not too distant past, we approved several COVID-related vests here because of the legislation that was passed by city council. Now, I'll grant you that that legislation had a sunset and that date is passed. So why it's even referenced in here, I don't know. But it is. So my opinion, the way I generally vote, if this was to go to a court of law, which is the end all be all, what would be the result? Why go through all that? Because of our past practice, because of the fact that this gentleman was working in the 3 weeks prior to contacting COVID, it has nothing to do with whether someone else in his office got COVID. It has nothing to do with it. But that's what Dr. Hayworth wants to base her opinion on. And those are her words, not mine. That's wrong. And I think it would be embarrassing for this to go into a court of law with this language. So I don't see how we can't approve this based on previous, past history, plus the legislation was in place for many years until in 2021.
The expiration of the federal emergency.
Absolutely. That's
But
it.
it's still, COVID is
State,
still,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but COVID is still relevant and existent. And people are dying from COVID today, just like they did in 2021, 2022. Even with the new equipment and stuff, they still having the thing. But that's my other question is it kind of HIPAA law that she's going into everybody's record to prove to see if they reported whether they had COVID stuff? I mean, can you just, I think it's automatic, can risk management automatically go into each employee's record and determine why they was out sick? But your doctor don't usually put everything on the note that you give. But even given with that, I think I do Brian that she kind of overstepped her bounds as far as, and I also do that. Given the status, well, not if nobody else can say, but me, I'm saying, given the status, the COVID is still well and alive and kicking in the world today, that we can't determine, we don't know. If somebody in his workplace had it, but with the law this state that if COVID was a part of the reason why they died, then they should be given COVID. They should be given certain type of disability, and we have passed several cases that report based on that language in here.
Thank you, Brian. Any other discussion from the board? For clarity, a motion to approve the application for service-connected death benefits on case 5A regarding Patrick Austin is made and properly seconded. After reflecting that discussion, now go to the roll call. Brian?
Approved.
Francois?
Denied.
Marcia?
Denied.
Paul?
Approved.
Andrea? Willie?
Approved.
Adam?
Same.
Thank you.
Approved.
The vote was 4-3, 1 abstention voted. As chair, I'll vote to deny, so the case failed, the motion fails 4-4. Case 5B, a motion to approve the application for service-connected death benefits regarding Akeem Johnson is made and properly seconded. Any discussion on case 5B? Yes.
Dr. Hayward, again, you read this, the guy who's on the mobile guns, he was working. Akeem Johnson was working at the time for the streets department. He was out collecting trash and he was shot. He was on the clock working, to be clear there. He died as a result of multiple gunshot wounds, according to the death certificate. The police determined that the dispute resulted in his shooting was not work related. Why is that listed in here from a doctor from risk management? That has nothing to do with risk management's job. That's not their role to sway this board. If you read the code, any member found by the board, we make that determination, right? We make that, found by the board to be permanently incapacitated for the performance of duty, resulted solely from the performance of the duty's position, was not caused by the member's own wrongful conduct. We make that determination. Dr. Hayworth in risk management does not get this way to the board, but they do it constantly. Whether this was solely due to work or not has nothing to do with the police report as far as risk management is concerned. We want to rely on that document. We have every right in the world to do that.
Right.
Risk management doesn't. So again, risk management should be, counsel on what they could all do to this board, and what their job is with these reports, because they're overstepping the boundaries again. with this. That's all I have to say. Thanks, Jack.
Appreciate that. Any further discussion? We go to the roll. Ron,
I approve.
Francois,
Approved.
Marcia, approved. Paul, Bill believes, Willie,
Approved.
and Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries unanimously. Section 6. Case 6A, motion to approve the application beyond the 1-year deadline for Karen Fowler was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 6A? Hearing none. Brian,
I approve.
Francois,
Denied.
Marcia,
Denied.
Paul,
Approved.
Andre, denied. Willie,
Approved.
Adam,
Stay.
and Carol.
Approved.
The vote was 4-3 with 1 abstention. As chair, I'll vote to deny, so the motion fails 4-4 with 1 abstention. Moves us to old business in case 7A. Motion to approve the application for survivorship benefits regarding Walter Teasdale, the deceased, was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 7A?
Yes, I was on the hearing panel for this, and when I sent my decision over in reviewing these cases, I didn't deny it, but I approved it, but I just wanted to get that statement. And I sent my inadvertence, the reverse decisions over here.
Thank you. Any other discussion on 7A? Okay. Hearing none. Brian,
I approve.
Francois,
Denied.
Marcia,
Denied.
7A. Paul,
Approved.
Andre, denied. Lily,
Approved.
and Adam,
Stay.
Carol.
Approved.
The vote was 4-3 with 1 abstention. As chair, I'll vote to deny, so the motion fails 4-4, 1 abstention. Case 7B, a motion to approve the application for service-connected stability benefits for Martin Heston was made and properly seconded. Any discussion on 7B? Brian,
I approve.
Francois,
Denied.
Marcia,
Denied.
Paul,
Approved.
Andre, Willie,
Approved.
Adam,
Stay.
and Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries 5-2, 1 abstention. Case 7C, a motion to approve the application for service-connected death benefits regarding Doug Bamberger, the deceased, was made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Brian,
I approve.
Francois,
Denied.
Marcia,
Denied.
Paul,
Approved.
Andre, Willie,
Approved.
Adam,
Stay.
Carol.
Approved.
Motion carries 5-2, 1 abstention. Case 7D, a motion to approve the application for service connected disability benefits for Audrey Phillips was made and properly seconded. Any discussion? None. Brian,
I approve.
Francois,
Denied.
Martin,
Denied.
Paul,
Approved.
Andrea, Dylan, Willie,
Approved.
Adam, and Carol.
Approved.
The vote was 4-3 with 1 abstention. As chair, I'll vote to deny, so the motion fails 4-4, 1 abstention. That brings us to new business and the executive director.
The medical panel RFP closed, we did receive one, we received 2 responses, 1 response was inadequate. And didn't provide all the information required to. The other response is from in medical practice, you're looking at it now, it's a large practice that's, about, you're looking at that now, once you review, let's say something, let's say something, you could get medical. So, to discuss it. It's possible we can issue the RFP at some point. We're ready to see that we get more responses and those who may not file properly. So that's where we're at. The state audit, we did have our exit interviews. We think we're close to completion on that. We have a couple follow-up things, so we mostly. Just a reminder, financial disclosure, due May 1st. Those of you who may not be employed by the city may not be getting constant notices like we do over the email. So just a heads up, it's due May 1st. Any questions, please contact Josh Stein. We're ready to walk you through.
So this is the first notice we getting ready.
No, I'll give Josh some, at least a couple of emails. So, I think I mentioned it. Yeah,
Good thing you mentioned it.
yeah, May 1st. You did a pretty good job with the directions. One other thing, we could see the application reports in there, and you'll see a notice for the mass financial, annual financial conference. It's the 35th annual conference, it's coming up in June. And it's, I'll just mention on that.
I think it's most of that's all right, Fran. Any, probably for your staff that wants to attend the national conference. Second.
Motion was made and properly seconded to permit, board members and staff to attend the annual house conference. Any discussion? Hearing none. Brian? Francois?
Approved.
Marcia? Approved. Paul?
Approved.
Andrew? Approved. Willie?
Ooh,
Adam?
Approved.
And Carol.
ooh.
Motion carries unanimously. Any other new business before the board? Litigation summary.
Several cases in CCP, or one case that got remanded back to the board, but no specific.
While we're on legal track, I just wanted to do that. Appreciate Mr. Thomas live on some good work. He's certainly some of our investment brokerages in foreign jurisdictions. Work with that and work with Chris. Thomas, we appreciate it. Really good work. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Can I see you all? Yeah, so I have some bills that I need Thomas to help me with. Any other questions? The motion to adjourn, properly seconded, we'll move into the deferred compensation.
Thanks, We'll see.
Hey.
Yeah. Well, no. It's signed by the.
So Chris, you found a new center in high school. Yeah, it's good. I didn't even know when it's.
If you're giving.
It's okay to say.
I got it.
There's one small elevated.
All right, good morning. We're gonna start the first round.
Hello, hello, thank you.
Thank you. All right, good morning. We're gonna start the deferred compensation portion of the meeting. Before we do our first item, which is the minutes, I'll just note that, the managing director, Teal, stepped out. Claire Moore, is, deputy is here for informational purposes. And so our first item is approval of the March 2024 minutes. Motion was made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Brian? Francois?
Approved.
Marcia? Approved. Paul? Christie? Approved. Willie?
Approved.
And Carol? Approved. Motion carries unanimously. Deferred compensation plan update and activity report.
Just real quickly, members should be getting the notice in mid-May regarding the fund, new mutual fund option that was approved at the last meeting. Also, and I don't know if you know, Brad will mention this, but I want to review. We recently approved some updates. There's a new tool for members of virtual courtyard. That was the old thing, we debated and new thing. So we approved those updates and we go roll capture with that. I'm sorry, over the Venus Road.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Deferred compensation plan as of March 31st, the ending balance is 1,947,165,211. That's 1.8% increase since summer. In terms of participants with balances, it's 25,801, which is about 46 more than the previous month. Actively deferring is 19,869. That's 25 more than the month before. New enrollments received in March was 210. If you recall, at the last board meeting, Brad had mentioned the PPA, new employee orientations and presentations there. So PPA's enrollments was about 29% of that 200, which is quite significant. And inactive participants, 5,932, that's 21 more. Philadelphia Parking Authority now has 612 participants. That is clearly due to that 16 new enrollments that we received in March. So this was really, really exciting. Philadelphia Housing Development Corporation has 41 participants, 0 enrollments received there. In the 401(a) plan, at the end of the ending balance was $3,507,351, which is about 2.3% increase. And in terms of participant count, it's 1,135. That's about 6 less due to transference. Call volume, 2,731 calls were received in the month of March. That is a decrease of 295 less calls since February. Online accounts continue to rise. It's now at 19,989, which is about 80% of participants that have account balance has set up an online account. Recently, thanks to staff and the board trustees, you approved a lot of digital enhancements. And tools like alerts, account log, tracking online withdrawals. So all of these features will help those that have set up an online account. Percentage option, as of March, there's 2,230 participants, which is 44 increase. The percentage campaign is still on. When people go on the website, they see the information on the value of changing contribution to percentage. The Roth 457, there's 7,123 participants. That's an increase of 126 with 63.8 million. Happy to answer any questions. If not, Brad is going to talk about the service activity.
Good morning, everyone. In the month of March, we had 292 one-on-one consultations, resulting in 110 enrollments for the month completed with the local staff. There were 23 group events or workshops with total attendees of 1,018 members. I just wanted the biggest one that we had this past month was learning about drop, which we did in conjunction with Stacy White from the pension board. Thanks to Frank Shamika for helping us set that up. We got a lot of questions when we were doing our webinars about drop, and very well attended and a great presentation. Thank you. And 11 consultations were conducted using the My Interactive Retirement Planning tool in post.
Any questions for Nation? I think that moves us into the annual update, and Chris, we've allotted 15 minutes for the.
Yeah, outside of the Q&A, obviously.
Thank you. The annual report has two updates that you see in front of you. Page 14 and 15 are updated. Just wanted to just so you noted that. I will start off on page 4. But before I start, just want to thank you. The results are very, very positive and incredible. We could not achieve these successful outcomes without the board trustees' support, as well as staff for providing us access and raising the awareness and the importance of deferred compensation plan. So on page 4, the ending balance as of December 31st, 2023 was $1,854,599,905. That is 14.7% increase since 2020. When you look at the number of participants, the ending balance was 25,579. That's 666 more participants, or 2.7% increase. Actively deferred was 19,770, 414 more participants, which is about 2.1%. New enrollments, the highest new enrollments, if you go back historically, all the way, even before the pandemic, this is the highest number of enrollments that was received, 1,891. That's 19% more than the previous year. Again, we could not achieve these successful outcomes without the partnership that we have with all of you and HR. Thank you so much. Inactive participants, 5,809, which is 252 more, or 4.5% increase. 401(a) plan, the ending balance as of December 31st was $3,329,052. That is about 49% increase. We've gotten a lot more inflows, more folks in the 401(a) plan. 1,126 participants, which is about 18% increase. Regarding the work that our team, the Philly dedicated team does, we just wanted to highlight the workshops, the webinars, the virtual meetings, and the one-on-one consultations. Brad's team conducted 2,850 one-on-one consultations. That's an increase of 1,758 more.
That's terrific. Yes.
In addition, the local service team scheduled 301 educational webinars and on a series of topics which Brad will elaborate on, from simple topics of what is a 457 to complex topics of when you're nearing retirement, Social Security, healthcare. In terms of the city employees, 8,471 employees attended these workshops, 8,471. That's an increase of 4,853. So the demographic really, really values these webinars that are done on a weekly basis. Regarding the call volume and the web profile, in 2023, our call center handled 40,117 phone calls. That's an increase of 6%, or about 2,221 more phone calls than the previous year. Our call center is open for all your employees from Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., as well as on Saturdays from 9 to 6. So this is really helpful, especially those that have different shifts. They can reach out to the call center even, after work hours. In terms of the folks that are setting up an online web profile account, there's 19,619, which is 77% of the demographic by the end of the year of 2023. And if you recall, how does it compare to some of the other plans? So when you look at standard plans, the online account is averaging around 67%. And when you look at mega plans that are 25,000 or more employees, similar to city of Philadelphia, their average is 73. And the city is above the the mega plan average. And now, as I shared with you just a few seconds ago, it's now at 80%. Our goal obviously is to get it to as close to 100 as possible. Percentage option, 2,044 participants were in percentage option. The increase was about 650 from the previous year. Roth at the end of 2023 had 6,670, or an increase of 1,605 participants who leveraged the post-tax option. After-tax option, sorry. Philadelphia Parking Authority, we ended with 539 participants. Total new enrollments were about 85, and Philadelphia Housing Corporation was 41 participants with 4 new enrollments there. On page 5, we highlight all the education outreach that the team did with the board trustee support to raise the awareness of financial wellness. The first one, which we were so excited by, was the virtual courtyard. It was the first time the city had ever offered a 3D interactive experience to engage your employees. So they had a fun way to learn about overall deferred compensation plan and just financial wellness, helping them at different stages of their retirement journey. So what we did was we opened it for 60 days. So it was launched on April 3rd of last year to June 2nd. We sent out over 71,000 emails to remind folks to go in and engage with this new tool that was on the website. When we looked at the measurements, there were 1,049 employees that visited. They did not even have to have a deferred comp. Anybody could go in. And there were 4,869 folks that actually engaged with either video, interactive, fun experiences, quizzes, games, just learning more about the tools that are available. So it was an exciting response, and we were so happy to see these results and thank you so much for, we're going to be launching the virtual adventure center, which is a whole different look and an experience, I think, which we'll be able to report it. In terms of the marketing campaigns that we've implemented, again, many thanks to the educational subcommittee for really focusing on what was important for your employees. We started out with the first campaign, which was the risk tolerance review campaign. What this campaign did was really laser focused on those participants that were 100% in the fixed account, and really approach them, especially if they were under age 65, helping them understand, review your account, make sure that it was appropriately diversified, and of course, meet with the retirement specialist. So we sent that out at the tail end, which was in September, as well as in October. Emails were sent out, as well as postcards. There were about 4,255 emails targeted, and 4,657 postcards. The other campaign that was launched, which was at the tail end of the year, was the awareness of the percentage contribution. So anybody that was in a fixed dollar amount, they could then really evaluate the value of shifting and moving their contribution towards percentage. That is still going on. When someone goes and logs in on the website, they'll see a banner, and that still goes on. The other one that was really critical was the Plan 10 and Plan 16, reaching out to those employees that were not earning their match. So we sent out emails specifically to those individuals in Plan 10 and Plan 16. That was launched at the beginning of this year. And of course, the ongoing one is the approaching retirement with drop education. Retirement specialists do that throughout the year to make sure that folks that are nearing retirement understand their options, and of course, educate themselves in the drop and the option to defer their leave pay. Lastly, last two is the investment updates. There were two different investments that were mapped, which we've included Fidelity Large Cap Growth and the Fidelity Large Cap Value. And then a significant decision that was made last year is the implementation of the participant engagement program, sending the right message at the right time, leveraging the behavioral analytics that we have. And this is already implemented as of January this year. We will be able to share the results with you of the first 6 months. We've been tracking all the behavior patterns and outreach, and we'll be able to report that in the July meeting. Very quickly, I'll just go through a few pages of the report. On page 7, you see the team that really does dedicated, incredible work. Brad has just hired an office manager.
Give our review office manager, Wanda Cunningham, is starting on Monday.
That's the name of it.
Wanda Cunningham.
Thank you, Brad. And on page 9, just a year's overview. I shared with you the participants, 25,579 on page 9. Total contributions received is 140,465,612. It's about the same if you look at the previous year. And then when you look at the total distribution, it's $139,409 and $139,409,215. That is 22% higher than the previous year. The highest where we see the dollars going out is in the rollover transfer out. We do provide to you the details of where these dollars went out on page 27. We'll go to later on. But I just wanted to give you an overview. On page 10, the active participation based on the eligible count that the city has, our number is at 27,000. The active penetration is 73%, so 1% over the previous year. Just quick overview of the plan demographic on page 14. We break down for you by age group where the assets are and where the deferrals are. And as you can see, the largest concentration where the assets are is in the older demographic at 50%. Those are your new pages that we had added. And the second is age 50 to 59. On page 15, this is the newer page that we've highlighted. One thing that we've done is we've shared with you not only the plan average balances by age group, but we thought it was important for you to see the median average balance, because that is a true reflection and midpoint. And therefore, as you can see, the median plan average is $23,173, and the plan average is $72,505. On page 17, I won't go through, on page 19, I won't go through all the details here, but just wanted to concentration of that $1.8 billion, you'll see that the highest is in the fixed account at 37% in the pie chart. And then the next asset category is in the large cap.
So, yeah, so on page 17, it's 684 million, you fixed account. Now, I just want to point out the difference between 2.6% and 3%, that's 2.7 million, a little over 2.7 million. That we're paying out less than the average because of the reduced rate. So I want to point that out. It's all good news you're telling us, but 2.7 million less is being paid to the members because the rate is being stuck at.
It's basically 3% assumption.
That's correct. Which again, given the current interest rate environments, well, even 3%.
So this is the nationwide guarantee, something you talk about,
Correct.
And you bring to a good point on page 24. I think it's important to see of that fixed assets. How many folks are 100% invested in the fixed account? Here we indicate by age group the count. And when you look at the concentration of assets, those that only have fixed, it's 5,382. And the total assets is $400,678,635. That's 2% less than the previous year. And when you look at the total count, it's 342 less. One thing that we really, it was important for the board trustees and subcommittee to do that risk tolerance campaign and target those folks that were under 65. And we saw when we launched the campaign, the folks that were 29, 30, 39, and even 40, 49, we saw a major shift at the end of the year, moving out of the fix. So just to share that with you all. On page 27, it's important to note, while we are bringing in dollars, educating folks on a regular basis, dollars do flow out. And here we break down for you by vendor where those dollars are going out. As we had shared, the total distribution was $716,482, but we highlight for you by vendor.
Can I ask a question on page 25?
It's
The pie chart shows the distributions and you know, the reasons. Why did you exclude the rollovers that are out of the plan? Why was that?
separated out. It's separated out. This is specifically just been payouts like normal attrition plan. So like termination, required minimum distribution, leaves, et cetera, domestic. So the rollout transfer is separated out, which is on the second page, on page 27. We break that down for you. So just giving, you know, the normal attrition. And we break it down, as you can see, termination RMDs are quite high. 5.2 million in just required. Any other questions for me? If not, I'll just pass it on to Brad to talk about the participant experience.
Sure. Questions. I don't know if it's for you, Bean, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna ask. Can you go back to page 9? And it sort of ties into the rollover transfers out. So our goal, of course, is to have the premier 457 plan in the country, right? We want the best. And in a lot of ways it is. And I'll be honest, the service side of this plan, I think, is the best. I'd be surprised if we could do better than what the numbers you just put out there. It's amazing. So Brad, great job. But when you look at the rollover transfer in, and if you exclude the amount from the PPA, because that was sort of an anomaly, the transfers in year to year were plus 2.1 million. If you look at the transfers out, if it was negative 18.5, almost 19 million. Why is that? I mean, if we were to have the best plan in the country, we wouldn't be negative 17 million on in versus out. What do we think is the root cause of that?
I think there's a couple things that could be. I mean, I think obviously the
I do believe the free environment is an impact there. I think also when you look at the appreciation of the market, you know, when we talk about people having money in their account for 30 years in order to roll it out, their money was in the account, the market has gone up over the past 6 or 7 years. So last year was a very good year in the market. So if somebody had, you know, 100 grand at the beginning of the year and they rolled money out in June, that was now 120 or making numbers up, but the appreciation of the market.
But if this was the best place for their money, they wouldn't leave. I don't care if it triples in value. If I'm in the best place, I'm not leaving. Right?
No,
I'm just, you know, I'm not trying to correct you, I guess. I'm just pointing out what I think is obvious. We're negative almost, again, $17 million year to year. That I'm concerned about that, right? Because that suggests that there's an underlying issue that these members are seeing that they think they can find elsewhere, which we see on page 27. You know, you look at it here, there's plenty of other spots. Biggest one, Charles Schwab, that's my people. That's me telling, that's my advisor that we use at Local 22. That's me telling my people to get their money out again. And I hate to do that, but I'm gonna keep doing it. The interest rate that's being offered to my retirees, right? Because there are members too. We talk about active members, and I'm passionate about deferred comp for active members because pension's not enough. It's a great benefit. It's an amazing benefit. It's not enough because of the way our pension is designed. They need this to survive. So retirees matter too. I think we're lacking there. I think the investment options are great. I'll say it again, the service to you and your team, I'd be shocked if there's a better plan in the country. But that negative 17 million speaks volumes to the fact that we may not have the best plan for those folks in the country.
Let me ask you a question for retirees. When people do retire, like for their drop account, do they roll all of it over to deferred account or do they split and they roll some out? And also the retirees that are in that roll their money on deferred account, when they reach age 72, 73, we got to do a RMD.
Yep.
So is this accounted for in them? And then you have to take out money. They have to do amendment withdrawal. Roll out, right?
Did you say the rollovers are separate from the RMD?
Yeah,
That's what I'm asking, but this.
That is correct. So on the, Olo, for example, the R&D is factored in that 65 million, right? And then we separate out the 73 million, which is rollover transfer out. And the rollover transfer in, if you look at year to year, if you compare it from 2022 to 2023, and if you look at last year, the year before, 60 million, right? But that was also thanks to the PPA coming on board. But if you subtract the PPA's dollars, which is around 4.7, we actually were positive,
2.1 million.
yeah, positive flow of 4%. And even with the where we did see a significant increase is in the rollover transfer out, which is happening across other plans as well. Due to the market that we're in. Here, we saw a 34% increase.
Do come back to public, so, the rollover, the RDN is included in the benefit payment,
Yes, that is
okay.
correct. Yes.
So the rollover transfer out. Does that include people who are inactive and they want to take their money out? Is this a part of that? So what happens to the inactive people who can't contribute to the deferred account? What happens to their money? Do they roll it out into another plan or?
So that, those people are included in the rollover transfer account. So people that have separated from service, that have a 457 account that would like to take their money elsewhere and have a non-taxable event, they roll it over to an IRA, to another retirement plan.
You can't give us, you don't know the percentage of those people. I think that's what Brian's trying to figure out, like, how many people, well, that's what I want to figure out, what the number is, like, how many people are.
Put this on that,
That is,
that pie chart would be the biggest one.
yeah, people, you mean the rollout? Yes, but, and how many of that is the inactive people, and the inactive people were,
5,809. They have their account balances, right? The ones that we counted here. They could be retired, but they may retain their account balances. So the rollover transfer out is folks that have decided to take their dollars out of the plan. Whether they're, yeah, they've decided to take the dollars out. And it could be rate, it could be chasing rate, it could be a relationship that they have with an advisor.
So see, to your point, one, to answer your question is, are those folks inactive? To be able to roll their money out, they can no longer be employed by the city of Philadelphia. So they're all gonna be inactive that are taking a rollover out of the plan.
So they can roll their money out,
Exactly.
right?
Because they're all.
But most of the sit there, right?
Yes.
Most of the sit in deferred account.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and then as you think about rollovers out, there's multiple factors. Some of them, I think, are being mentioned right here at the table, right? Part of it is, is there a better rate out there? When you think about short-term interest rates, for example, money markets have an average maturity of about 60 days. And what they're investing in, they can't be any longer than a year. So they're a much more nimble product than, for example, our general account or fixed account, which has an average duration closer to 10 years. So there's a difference there to be able to take advantage of those interest rates. And so that's why you're seeing folks that can go out and get a better rate in those short-term interest rate environment that we've had where rates have spiked. But then also there's just human nature. Right? We see the ads all the time around, hey, did you leave something behind, right? Follow the green line, the orange money, those things. If you have a singular relationship, like, hey, this was my investment account I had with my employer, but on the outside, they may have an advisor that has everything else for them, right? So, there's likelihood they may move over. It's an old banking stat, but the banking statistic was that if you have a checking account only at a bank, it's 100% at some point you'll leave that bank because you have that singular relationship. So if you think about an employer-sponsored plan, right, folks are being trained to say, hey, when that's your employers, now take control of your own plan and roll out. So use some of those human behaviors as well. That's not to overshadow by any means that, the folks are 100% in the fixed rate and they're seeing a higher interest rate out there. They're going to shop that rate and that makes sense. And I get it. And that's part of the challenge that we're experiencing here. And we're trying to bring creative solutions. I know, gosh, I think it was late last year, or it's the beginning of this year, time flies. We talked about some different things that we could do to try to bring more value in that space, which is ultimately what our goal is to bring more value to the participants here.
I won't respond to those things.
Understood.
But your characterization of chasing, that's a little, you're acting like 3% is some unusual rate that's happening. It's not people are not chasing rate. Like, they're looking for a reasonable rate that's out there, given the market conditions. So that's please not categorized as chasing rate. It's not what the members are doing. Members, we have 5,397 non-contributing members, right? Numbers, right? Many of them are retirees, as Carol pointed out, right? Some of them are probably active. I don't know, do you have a breakdown of that? How many retirees, how many are active for just not?
We can get that for you, but I think the last time we had done the analysis, it was mostly folks that were retired. But we can get that, we'll follow.
And then Jeff, as far as the duration, things like that, we could do that in 7 days. I'm not quite sure numbers accurate. That's a whole separate discussion. That's not called chasing rate. That's not diminish what these retirees are trying to do in order to secure their retirement, which is what Brian's pointing out, right? These folks are making an educated decision to move to a roll over their money where they can get a better rate, which is just as secure. They're not going to 60-day money market funds. That's not what they're going to. They're not. So let's not make it false. We can talk about that. So.
Sure. And
Brian's exactly right, by the way. Everything that Peter went over in the beginning, the service cannot be better. Service is tremendous. We love the service, but we have an obligation, we have everyone collectively, the fiduciary duty to fight for what's best for our members. And that's a more reasonable rate. I
appreciate that. I think the comment around chasing rate is simply rate shopping. Maybe is a better rate. There's a better rate out there that they're going to shop at a better rate, which I can appreciate. Because to your point, other instruments out there like money market funds, you're seeing rates in that 5% range. And it's because they have that short duration, they're getting that opportunity. And you can't fault someone that has that ability to do that. And so, it's our job is to try to figure out ways to bring greater value there for those members to the point around having the greatest plan. Right, that's something as a plan sponsor and as your partner in that space, right? We want to help you achieve.
Yeah, it's trustees' job. Everyone vice should do their job to make sure that members have a reasonable alternative for something that right now is not.
Brad can cover the equipment for the participant experience. Well, Brad's gonna cover the participant experience, which is, page 29.
Quickly, Brad, cover the participant. So, just to cut, Vina talked real briefly on some of the numbers, as far as the group webinars and service activity that the local team conducts. In 2023, the local team had 2,850 individual consults, 301 group seminars with 8,471 attendees. And just to Brian's point earlier, that is not the typical number. That number of attendees for group webinar sessions is extraordinary, quite frankly. And it's a great commitment from the board staff, HR, who sends out our invites to those webinars. Just want to thank everybody for that. If we turn to page 31, we broke out these are the webinars that are done on a weekly basis, specifically by Don, our CFP. You can see there's a total of 39 sessions with 3,978 attendees just for those CFP weekly webinars. Some of the topics you can see there, Roth, managing your deferred comp, budgeting, social security, approaching retirement, retirement 101, what's your plan, drop, join with the pension board, the city's retirement seminars that they are doing virtually that we participate in. Again, these are just extraordinary numbers when it comes to education and helping the financial wellness of the city employee. The enrollment comparison on page 32, again, 1,891 new enrollments in 2023. Vina mentioned the call center. I want to just point out that the average speed to answer in our call center for 2023 City of Philadelphia is 11.5 seconds. So when somebody calls to our call center, their call is getting answered within 11.5 seconds on average.
Can't speed that up.
Can you get in the 10?
We'll do our, that'll be our goal for 2020. And then just the website issue. Usage, Vina mentioned how 77%, now 80% of participants have web accounts. Some of the stats there for 2023, 9,394 deferral changes were processed online. So people changing how much coming from paycheck, 1,436 allocation changes to their investment options, and 969 exchanges all completed online without those through that policy. And then real briefly on page 36, just an overview of the 401A plan within the city. As all of you are aware, this is the city match money for folks in Plan 10 and 2016. 1,126 participants, total contributions of 888,660. And there's all the demographic details and everything for the 401 plan following. I won't go through those specifically. Any questions for us?
Another question, I think it's more for Chris, but not too distant past, we put an RFP out, and one thing we learned was that the market value of this portfolio is low to mid 80%. I don't know if you remember the number, but it was low 80s. What do you have a current number on that?
Yeah, Jack Kilbane, Jack gave us a number that's 33 in May. 10th and May 11th, it's over 90%, it's about 90.5%. So what that says to me is even with the outflows that you talked about, with Charles Schwab and other things, what that shows is that the value or the, if you basically had a fire sale, you sold everything in that portfolio today, 3 months ago, you would have gotten to 82 myself, right? If you had to liquidate immediately, now you get it overnight. What that says to me is that the environment, what they have in the underlying portfolio, the health of it essentially is improved. Right?
Pretty rapidly, 7-ish% in less than a year. I don't know the date.
It's less than a year. Yeah, I mean, I could put a chart together going through emails and stuff like that. So clearly the underlying, it would be wrong to say they're getting, well, they're not more valuable because if you let them go out to maturity rate, you get 100%. They are more valuable in terms of what they're worth now, if you were to sell them, right, you would. And the closer you get to that, 100%, obviously to your point on car and Peter, if you look at transferring those assets elsewhere, it becomes a lot easier the closer you get to 100%. Okay.
There's two reasons I asked that. That's impressive because that does suggest the underlying portfolio is producing some pretty healthy results pretty quickly. And I also, I heard you say 11 years. I thought it was a lot less than that. And I think those numbers suggest that it is a lot less than that. I don't have that number in front of me, but I don't know that 11 years is just close. I think it's about half.
So I think if Jeff was referring to the maturity, then it's 11 years. If you're referring to the duration, it's actually 6.
That's what okay. That's the number that's in my
And
head.
the duration has, I would also point out the duration has come down significantly from when we first started the conversation. So at the subcommittees and elsewhere, at one point that duration was 6.5, maybe closer to 7 and 6, but still in the 6s. Now we're down closer to 5.
It's just good. I mean, the way things shot up aggressively, that coming down would again suggest the underlying portfolio is really starting to produce results, which is the goal for Nationwide and right, that helps everyone. All right. Thank you. That's a good.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Nationwide?
Not ringing on your brain. That was outstanding. That was,
Thank you.
Gotta keep money to the Brian, gotta keep.
No, they.
You gotta keep money to the. That's okay. It's not bad to me.
We'll make a motion to adjourn for Carl, and we're gonna take a 5-minute break before we move into.
So you started with the draft again.
That's what she said.
6-minute break.
60 seconds.
Yeah, you take care of your right?
in a session. First item is the approval of minutes from March. Bringing some probably second that the minutes to be approved. I call the roll. Francois. Approved. Paul. Approved. Ryan. Approved. Billy. Approved. Carol. Approved. Marcia.
Approved.
And Christie. Approved. The motion carries. Thank you all very much. Please, item 2, Aaron's first capital. Back it away.
Sorry. Adele and Haley will come up. I just wanted to, briefly introduce this investment recommendation with Barings, First Capital 3. It'd be a continuation of a partnership that the board started with Barings from 2018. Staff and Haley will mention the returns. We can see the returns in the first 2 funds are performing very well and on pace with what we expected and our fees. Also, as a reminder, pursuant to the board's approved asset allocation, we need to allocate roughly 125 million to 175 million annually in private assets. The last 2 years, we've been slightly under that intentionally. We've been closer, to 100. But to be at the long-term approved target, we need to be 125 to 175 million. And with that, Adele, Haley wanted to get president. Yeah, sorry, I meant, yes, the first one, we do anticipate bringing others to the table next month.
I don't know, don't skip the show.
Hi, welcome to the table.
Morning. It's been 5 years, a little over 5 years since First Capital One has been approved. And since then, we've been talking to Megan and Greg essentially on a monthly basis, receiving updates about their progress and keeping track of their ELOC. And we've been impressed by the level of discipline and extra step they do safeguard the assets, maintain their fiduciary duties, and also, more importantly, deliver on their promise. So First Capital 3 will extend the relationship with Barings. The fund has the same characteristic with First Capital 1 and First Capital 2. Back in December 2018, the board approved 75 million for First Capital 1, and subsequently in September of 2021, the board approved 50 million for First Capital 2. Staff is recommending 50 million for First Capital 3. First Capital 3 has the same mandate and target the same level of return, 16 to 18% debt. The fund will make co-investment in secondary investment alongside other GPs and private equity sponsored, targeting small and diverse.
The same mandate, what is the mandate?
Pretty much the same number of investments, same enterprise value of managers, and terms is the same, pretty much 10 years with 2 possible 1-year extensions. The fees is the same, the carry is the same, and the preferred return also 8%, which is the same for First Capital 1 and 2.
And the fees are relatively low, right, for this?
Yeah, 85 basis points. FC1 is already 92% committed and 88% funded. Dollar term, meaning the funding is $69 million. It has 4.5 million of unfunded commitment. The total distribution to the fund is $26 million. The NAV stands at $110 million. That's 88% net IRR and 1.7 in FOC. First Capital 2, on the other hand, has 41 million of commitment, 4.7 million of unfunded commitment. Fund distribution received to date is a little bit more than $1 million, and the NAV is at $37 million. So that's the 11.8% IRR and 1.2x. FC3 will follow the same strategy, target the same level of returns. I like to call attention to the diversity matrix for the firm listed on page 10 on the staff report and also on page 9 on Marquette's report. Key important points I like you to keep in mind is that the investment community has extensive experience in this industry. It is 75% women and diverse. The 61 percent of all investment professionals are women and diverse. They have maintained strong performance and consistent deal flow over the years. And the platform benefited greatly from the prior past resources and will continue to do so. The program also offered lower fees by comparison, as I mentioned earlier. And the team has been very transparent with us, keeping us informed and of their progress and sharing the feedlocks on a monthly basis for us. Also some risks to consider as Barron continues to grow and expand its platform, incorporating other asset classes. Staff is watching closely for conflict of interest, and we're talking to the team on a monthly basis, getting update, and we'll continue to do that as well. Also, some of you might have heard the recent news report, detailing that some of the credit members will have left the firm. That does not have any material effect to our program, as the primary people managing our program remain in place and have not been tasked to manage other program. Also, Richard Spencer, who some of you have met a few years back here, is retired, and Mina is the current successor. Staff believe Mina and her team have the resources to continue the program. They also negotiated the key person clause to ensure that Mina will remain with the firm. It simply means that the board has discretion to terminate its relationship with Barron if Mina departs.
Talk a little bit their return.
Sure. The return for First Capital One is currently 18% IRR and 1.7x. And for FC2 is 11.8% and 1.2x. Thank you.
That's net of fees, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. The cost, I think, for FC1 is about 21%. For FC2 is about 15%.
17, you said?
Yes,
The gross.
that's correct.
But the net IRR is
11.8.
11.8 and 18% one, right?
Yes.
Those are 17.
That was the strengthening of the key person provisions based on concern with the part of the key team.
Right.
That and also the retirement of Richard Spencer. Richard was the head of the program and he retired, Mina took over, so we wanted to make sure that Mina stays and continue buying the program. And the best way to do that is to update or make changes to the key person. Well,
Was the credit departures part of an other investment company trying to take talent from there? What happened?
some of them, it's based on the reports that I read, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the senior management created their own company and they took some of the members with them. And this is common in this industry. Have you seen, I remember you approved, a few months back, DRP was approved. And most of the team, that are currently working with, Fannie are, remember, team members of Fortress. When she created her own company to TRP, she took a lot of these members with her and pretty much, I'm pretty sure, I think it's a little over 80% of the team is from Fortress.
Only problem when you would start losing assets. And
That is the
and
problem.
liabilities.
Yes.
And that's not the case.
That is not the case with
Right.
Barron's.
And the company that kind of broke off the Barron's, where they focused on credit, is that what it was the credit team that went to?
I believe so.
These two teams operate independently though, so they're outside of knowledge sharing, completely separate. So it really has limited impact on the PG team. We just want to be overly cautious because we're seeing spin-outs become more common. We want to make sure that if something were to happen, that they can. But these two teams completely separate. It's just unfortunate timing, but.
That's true. That's good. Efficient.
Other questions?
I'd say another reason why we like Barings is it's a very tough environment to distribute capital. And First Capital One, they've already distributed a third of the capital back. And it's very tough right now. Distributions are down. A lot of LPs are overweight, but they've shown that their team is able to distribute capital, get exits at high valuation. So I think that's one positive to call out in terms of performance.
And how do we have how many people are they, sort of?
So it's 32 members on the team, 4 on the investment committee, and then individuals to support. I would say, given the amount of assets they manage, it's definitely a sizable team. And they, outside of the 4 investment committee members, they definitely have a deep team to support Mina. But Mina is head of the strategy now, so that's why she was that kind of person.
So is Rena, if she doesn't go with the, vote to move forward and stuff, can they override it?
So she needs to be on board with the investments. They do vote, but I think it's rare that there's an instance where Mina is not on board, that an investment would be approved. So they do vote and technically they could approve it, but it's rare that they wouldn't go forward with the investment without Mina's sign off.
Was Adam involved in the language for the person?
Yeah, I mean,
You're comfortable with the strength of it, Adam?
yes.
Are they here? Yes. Yes. Everybody ready for you in? Sure. Okay. I know you said it.
We're saying, Carol, quick, show you how.
They did,
20 minutes?
they did,
Yeah, I think so.
20 minutes, that's Q and
They're
A.
generous.
Oh.
15.
Hello. Welcome. How are you? Thank you for coming.
Everybody looks happy, that's good.
Floor is yours. You'll give it about 15 minutes over.
Well, thank you for having us here today. This is actually our 3rd time presenting to you. The first time was in person, the second time was during COVID. So it's nice to see everyone. We're honored to be here and continue to help you build your private markets portfolio, serve the city of Olympia, the board, staff, and all your beneficiaries. As a matter of reintroduction, I'm Mina Pacheco-Nazemi. I serve as the head of the Diversified Alternative Group. I also chair our investment committee and am on the investment committee. And alongside with Alan, I work on this First Capital portfolio. Alan Ruiz, who's my partner, is also a managing director and also serves on the investment committee. So I see everybody has their votes. I am going to kick us off on page 30. Yes. Okay. You got it. So I'm going to start on page 5, which is a quick overview on Barings. We are a subsidiary of MassMutual Insurance. We are focused on building private markets portfolio on behalf of clients with a focus on performance, downside protection, capital appreciation, and also sustainability. On pages 6 and 7, we're going to highlight a little bit more on what our platform is and what we're doing for you in the First Capital portfolios. Number 1, our focus is in private markets. We're investing alongside best-in-class managers, best-in-class operating partners, best-in-class management teams in the lower end of the market, so the lower end of the private equity market. Our managers, our sponsors, on average, have about 20 years of experience investing in those sectors, so they're sector specialists. We are oriented to investing in North America and Europe, and we've been doing this on behalf of our parent and also on behalf of clients for about 30 years. Page 7 is on our team. The team that you see on this page is dedicated and they all work on the First Capital. So myself and Alan serve as your leads. We are the individuals who are on monthly calls with your staff. But every person on this team works on the First Capital portfolio. As you look at the top half, that's the investment committee. So we lead origination, the due diligence, and then we have full oversight of all the investments. The next level shows the investment professionals who collaborate with us on all the deals that go into your portfolio.
What you'll also see on this page is the fact that we're very proud of the diversity of our across our team. If you look on the investment committee, 3/4 of our investment committee is women and diverse. And over 60% of our investment team is women and diverse. And it's that diversity, that different lens that has actually been, for us, a big value creator. And it's actually reflected in your portfolio from a performance standpoint. So page 9 hits on where the performance has been for both of the portfolios. On the top half, First Capital One, it's a 2019 vintage vehicle. We've generated an 18% net return and almost a 1.7x. And you can see the respective benchmarks in there. What's not on the page is the fact that the average life of the cash flow in Fund One is around 3 years. And so despite that, we've already returned 40% of our capital back. So usually you have a 5-year hold for investment. So the fact that we've held on average 3 years, we've already returned 40% of your dollars back. For Fund Two, it's a little bit earlier. The average life on that is around 1.4 years. We are still off to a great start with an 11.8% return, and then the 1.16 net return at the C level. So how do we get there, and how will we build over those returns? Pages 10 and 11 sit on that. One is the focus on the lower end of the market. The bottom left on page 11 on the side with the 2 triangles really just gives a good visual. We're investing in that smaller end of the market with enterprise value up to 250 on average, where there's just a lot of companies, a lot of opportunities, but just less capital dedicated. So what that translates to is that we're buying businesses at lower multiples. It means that we're levering less, we're putting less risk. And then we're also buying businesses with those sector specialists who are creating value, as I described it, the old fashioned way, by growing businesses versus cutting costs and putting leverage. As I mentioned earlier, this is our focus. This is where we spend all of our time. And as you think about the First Capital One and Two portfolios, you're really getting the best of the best across our platform. So you have a team that's been doing this for a long period of time. We're focused on the small end of the market. And then we also have a fantastic fee structure to minimize fees, cost, expenses, also mitigate the J curve. And the fact that we have a fantastic relationship with your staff, where we have these monthly calls to basically challenge each other on what goes into the portfolio, has really led to some of that performance. So I'll let Alan hit on some of the details.
Switch over to page 12, where I'll give you a quick overview of the first 2 programs, program 1 and 2. Obviously, our objective here is to make the best risk-adjusted return for the portfolio. That's layer number 1. How we've done that, like Mina mentioned, we've taken a disciplined, competitive approach to our investments. We don't take binary risks. You make sure that everything has downside protection and protection for safety. As a testament to that, our approval rate is actually under 3%. So if we see 100 deals in a particular quarter, 3% of those on average get approved. It's been lower actually trending in the past few years. We do our own work. We re-underwrite our own investments. We write our own memos, set the technical models, do our own referencing. And so the outcome is here on page 12, where we've had a very balanced portfolio. Actually, a well diversified. No investment in any of the portfolios represents over 7% of either program. So well risk balanced. We stayed in areas of expertise and in areas of outperformance. In certain sectors that we've done well in, including healthcare, IT, and business services. But more importantly, focused on the lower mid market in North American buyouts. Doing all that via our natural networks, for example, the SEO and Twigo, our portfolio is still 50% women and diverse and has continued to perform. On page 13, I'm going to double click a little bit here on some of the underlying portfolio metrics. As you see here, it's a pretty strong and high quality portfolio. How we've achieved that is we've been paying below market multiples for our assets on the top left quadrant of the page. We've under levered. See the top middle. We're about 2 turns under leverage, which is versus the large end of the market. And on the top right, you'll see that our median revenue without carrier or annualized growth rates are 16 and 19% for revenue. So very, very healthy portfolio. We've done that again, like Mina mentioned, sticking to our tenets of success, which is tier 1 sponsors, that are domain experts, that are very well aligned with transactions, and with more importantly, investing in companies that are leading in their sectors and in strong industries that are also growing. Equally important is avoiding pitfalls. Obviously, we went through some challenging investment environments with COVID. We've gone through some inflation, supply chain issues. The most recent that's continuing to press on is labor shortage. These are service inflation. It's kind of what we looked at recently. We've avoided areas in those sectors that are at least dependent, overly dependent on that sort of dynamic, which has helped to the portfolio. On page 14, give you a little bit of a flavor of what the third program will look like. Yes, there will be no surprise here. It's going to be effectively a carbon copy of what is going to be doing the same thing as the performance has historically existed here. We're going to balance across co-investments, secondaries. We'll focus again on North America buyouts. And again, middle market is where lower middle market is where we'll focus. Again, the most important thing here is collaboration with staff. It's been a true partnership. If we've been allowed to adjust and meet the market where we should be. And we have a very iterative process in doing so. So it's been instrumental to the current success of the program. I'll wrap with a few case studies. There'll be 4 case studies here that hit some of the deal dynamics, what made the deal special, and to point out that every one of these deals, 3 or 4 have been realized, all of the different deal teams that work on these transactions. So very wide array of deals. The first case study is page 16, Project Natural. We made this one special. We invested alongside a GP that spun out of a family office that actually made created their wealth in the pharmaceutical and wellness space. So they were not learning on the job, specifically on this company, which is a homeopathic and natural over-the-counter remedy suppliers for kids primarily. It is a leading brand in the space. Yet there are more natural options at your mainstream pharmacies and at your natural stores. The key value proposition here is building a big facility. The sponsor has executed flawlessly on that. And from start to finish, our EBITDA nearly doubled. And as an update, we just exited this opportunity at an above market return another 4 years of holding. Page 17 is another deal, Project Prudent. This is a cash management service company that provides services to municipalities, school districts, and other government agencies. What they do is they help redistribute their cash balances to FDIC insured banks and avoid single point of failure. So we had a prior successful exit in a competitor. So we knew the ecosystem very well. We knew the players, the importance of compliance and relationship in the space. We also did this deal with a sponsor that was known for over a decade that is a financial service expert. They are a leader in the space, and really what catalyzed this opportunity, if you recall last year with the Silicon Valley Bank failure, a lot of people started using these services to disperse their cash balance. And so as the latest update here, this company was also sold for a well above market return earlier this year in just about 5 years. And then the last two, which we'll on quickly here, is page 18, Project Cloud. We have been exploring the themes and the pieces in the space, which is in the data center space. Obviously, we like the inflation protection it provides via contractual adjustments and price escalators. The macro is supporting, obviously, there's more voracious need for data in the cloud. And with AI coming around the corner, more and more data centers are required. This one is actually based in Pennsylvania. Again, it is a hyperscaler with some upside potential via digital asset projects. It had a very good competitive advantage. It was located very close to a reliable and clean energy source, which the competitors really didn't have. Again, another domain expert in the space, and we actually structured this with equity and a lot of downside protection with upside potential as well. So it was developed ahead of schedule, and it was actually sold to a strategic under 3 years of holding. That's another critical exit. And the last case study here is page 19. This one is unrealized, but off to a good start. This one, we like to exemplify as a perfect marriage between the asset and the sponsor. This was an orphan asset, effectively owned by banks. The sponsor is a deep value buyer and has a ton of expertise in automotive. They actually knew and tracking the company, they knew the management team, so they knew a lot of what was going on before they really got their hands on it. But what they do is they manufacture aftermarket parts, things like timing belts, things that are critical to replace, and other critical components across combustion engines, hybrids, and electric vehicles. So there's no cliff of failure here. So again, nice progress here. Part of the thesis is to divest its OEM, its original manufacturing parts, which is the process that the proceeds will be used to delever the company and also to provide a dividend recap. So those are the 4 key areas.
Is it part of your model trying to target companies that will sell relatively quickly? It sounds like all of these, be sold within a few years.
Absolutely. I mean, we underwrite for a 5-year hold, but we'll be strategic and take advantage of situations. And we do push our partners if there's a window to have an exit. So absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, in the Fund 1 portfolio, the average age of that capital is about 3.5 years, a little bit less than that. We've been able to return to 40%. We tend to believe that clients like to get their money back. So, and that's why we're here, right? I think, we'd rather continue to show our ability to generate returns. And if you like what we do, we'll continue to be here to be supportive in, building and identifying new assets to invest in.
But it went through the whole review and then decided, we're not doing this.
There's so many.
97%, to be clear.
We did, I could talk about, there was a rental property management company.
Yeah.
And it went down to the wire. You can be lulled into doing a deal that has security, so it didn't have debt. It was a secured structure, so preferred equity to bank. And what they do is they manage properties for rental homes. And this came to us right at the end of 2020. It had been growing exponentially. Obviously, COVID, everybody wanted a second house. Everybody had a bunch of money to go double down and buy a bunch of rental properties. And we came to the conclusion at IC, there was a split vote after having proprietary reference calling. I had a friend that does the exact same thing in Europe. Called him, he guided us very well on where to dig in and where to look. So we looked at the churn ratio. The churn ratio was very critical here. When you look at how many properties in your portfolio during a certain year, net of, not including whatever you acquired, how many new clients you acquired. And that looked poor, right? So it was over a third of the homes were actually turning, which means you have to then reinvest and acquire a bunch of new portfolios. And we felt it was unsustainable. So we just effectively turned it down, and we get updates all the time. It was a good turn down. We don't wish ill will on anybody. It's still surviving. It definitely went through a lot of problems.
Within your 15 minutes. Question?
Yeah, so what are some of the positive ESG attributes that you would bring to Chapter 3? That's one of the
Yeah,
considerations that you said.
absolutely. Definitely the diversity is, I think, our leading indicator and leading KPIs. We reference 50% of our portfolios when diverse. And by the way, the other thing that we do with companies where there's no diversity, we actually have our own operating partners, and we put our women in diverse, and we encourage our managers to put a woman or person of color on those boards. I'm a big believer of creating a pipeline of talent who will have that board experience, who could potentially be at the public board at some point in time. So we do encourage that. So I would say that's number one. I think it's the other areas we're very focused on making sure from a labor perspective, we're managing and we own businesses where we're good employers as well, right? Good benefits, sick days, all of those different items. So that plays a very, very big role. I think that even plays a bigger role in this environment where there's such a labor shortage issue, right? If you look at what's the challenge with our US economy right now, it is labor, and it's a labor shortage. So people who treat their people right are gonna have loyal employees, you're not gonna have the turnover. So I would say that's from a big thing from a second perspective. And then the third thing is part of all of our underwriting on ESG and so forth, we do track. So what are they doing from, if there's anything from a reduction of waste, reduction of use of water, all of those things, if there's operating businesses, we'll absolutely do that as well. So it takes a more holistic approach. It is part of one of our screens. And so as you look at the portfolio and its reflection, a lot of the performance, right, if you're looking at what we're doing, we're growing great for businesses, right? And a lot of that is driven by good people, good business models, and good partnerships.
And companies who are socially responsible.
Yes.
And on page 21, you see there's an outline of kind of our engagement with the community. I think it's important. We don't just sign up for these things. We
Right,
read them
that's
sometimes.
right.
We are members, we are alumni of a lot of these organizations, we on top. Like you just said, Mina's board member of these. We've been ingrained in the networks. And I think what makes the portfolio well is we're inclusive of diversity and not only exclusive. So we get the best ideas, period, in the portfolio. And even then, it's 50-50. And again, there's no hard and fast rule, but we continue to tap our network to make sure that the portfolio outperforms.
Can you comment on your level of concern, if any, on each of the departures of the credit team?
So our credit team was separate, 100% separate from our team. So there's been no issues, no challenges with respects to that. The departures actually in North America were very, very few. It was about 6 individuals. So as you think about our portfolio and what we do, we're primarily North America focused. So not really, hasn't really impacted our business in any way, shape or form. Obviously a loss is in general. I think there's been more in terms of in the media, but if you also look at, our bench on the private markets team the private credit team is around 100 people. So it wasn't a big turnover for that.
But in your presentation on page 5, you have the overall investment management. You from North America. Exclusive.
That is correct. So that number includes, it's an excellent point that you're highlighting for us. So there are multiple asset classes that we manage within that 381. We have public equities, we have, different types of fixed income, CLOs, high yield, private credit, real estate. So it is a global platform, so we do have that reach. That being said, in terms of where we invest in the private markets, we're primarily North America focused, a little bit in Europe. And what that means is that we benefit from that information flow. I know with the team, we've talked a lot about, does it make sense to invest in much more in the emerging markets? And I know we've helped on a couple and given you guys some references on some investments. But overall, it is, our team is primarily North America focused and based.
This is not a question, more of a comment. We appreciate how closely you work with the staff. Consultants. It's very, very helpful, I think, with this problem. This 5-year hold period is refreshing the space, especially deriving the value oftentimes less than 5 years. For a public pension fund that's paying benefits, right? We're not like a retail investor, we could just wait for until, the returns. It's very, very helpful. So thank you for that. It's very refreshing.
I've been working with public plans for about 20 years and I know who my client is. Right? But more importantly, I think it's also a reflection of we need to demonstrate our success, right? And we're very focused on that J curve. We're very focused on returning capital. And I will say the partnership with staff has been absolutely tremendous. I always say we learn off of each other, we challenge each other. And I was commenting to Chris earlier. We were talking about labor shortage and inflation years ago. We said this is going to be a problem. Like a lot of economists said, inflation is going to go away, and we stuck to that and we made investments. So it's a good double check, but it's also, as we're seeing newer opportunities, for example, CVs or continuation vehicles, we've been able to have the flexibility to do more, and it's proven out to be, those have proven out to be good investments.
Clearly value education, or you hire very intelligent people, keep your fees reasonable, and keep cranking out 17 net, and you can always come back.
Let me say,
That seems like a good place.
That was what I was going for, Rob.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
thank you.
What the recommendation is. The other question? Time anyone make?
Staff's recommendation.
Okay, so probably second, I will.
Approved. Paul? Approved. Brian? Willie? Approved. Carol? Marcia? And Chris? Motion carries. Thank you very much. They're great. I mean, I can see a bit of what's into that thought. Really.
You read it, really.
And speaking of impressive.
That was my magic word. Thank you. Thank you. So, I was waiting for that. Okay.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
So in terms of the investment performance, see the numbers through March, 1.9%, just below the policy benchmark. Fiscal year to date, 7.5%, 40 basis points north of the benchmark. A lot's changed in April and even just this
What
morning.
happens every month?
Yeah, so you probably saw, or maybe some of you saw before you came in, the first quarter GDP numbers came out. They were about 60 basis points lower than forecasted, so 6% versus 2.2. Market reacted very negatively, down about 1.6.
They would have reacted negatively, higher growth than anticipated too.
Well, that's one of the ironies. And Wakefield and I, Haley, Fran actually called me before the meeting. You know, the market on one hand has been looking for signs of a slowing economy as a reason for the Fed to reduce interest rates. You would think that that's kind of what happened this morning, but markets still reacted negatively. Now, I haven't had a chance to go through all the underlying data from the GDP reports. A couple of things I did see kind of underneath the headline number that were interesting to me was there was some indication that price pressure hasn't eased as much. We'll get a better sense of that tomorrow. There's a key inflation report coming out tomorrow. Also, consumer spending was still way up, about 2.5%, notwithstanding the GDP number. And business spending was more than economists had expected. So even with that negative number, there were still some positives kind of embedded in the report. At the same time, you did see some major companies report earnings within the last 24 or 48 hours, and they were very poor. Facebook/Meta, their numbers were way, way down. Caterpillar, which is primarily mining and construction, they were way down. Hertz Rent-A-Car had even worse numbers than people were forecasting. So you are seeing some, again, like really conflicting signals. I think that's going to make the Fed's job that much harder, to be honest with you. But you're seeing kind of these negative headline numbers that would point to a slowing economy, but we're not seeing the flip side of that in terms of dollar inflation. Or inflation that's low enough that they would feel comfortable kind of raising. No significant, manager concerns. I did speak, with a few of you, a couple that are, we pointed out, and, just some of the reasons, for them. Emerald had a kind of a tough month or a tough quarter. Again, primarily due to, certain stocks, they were overweight in bio or pharmaceuticals. They were also underweight, industrials, which is one of the best, three best performing sectors. Again, no immediate concerns, that's consistent with their strategy. And, you know, over the nearly 20 years we've invested in them, they've outperformed their benchmark pretty consistently. Causeway, albeit international, again, similar story, underweight, automobiles, semiconductors, that had a good month, and overweight supply of techs, that didn't do as well. Again, their longer term numbers, over more than 10 years, very strong. And then Brandywine, who's one of our fixed income managers, you know, really solid, long-term outperformance. You know, you're aware that they primarily invest in currency, hedging, things of that nature. Ironically, they were hurt by the resilient US economy, so the dollar continues to strengthen. And they had taken overweight positions in some international currencies or bonds that actually hurt them. But as you can see, you know, going back about 15 years, their outperformance is really strong. So again, no actual concerns on even managers, breaking comments, and of course, we're happy to take stuff.
Sure, I think, under exhibit 3 or tab 3, page 36, I think, what we can do here is just go super high level, so not really talk about the portfolio specifically, but tying into some of the comments that Chris just mentioned, the GDP numbers came down, the market that was freaking out over good economic indicators are now freaking out that GDP came down. So it's this weird place where good news is bad, bad news is bad. And as we think about news is bad, period. So not listening to the news is probably the healthiest thing. But page 3 under, page 36 under tab 3, it shows you the S&P 500 sector performance. And what's really interesting here is we've spoken about the Magnificent Seven. I think the last 12 to 18 months has really been about NVIDIA, your Metas, your Teslas, and so on. But while the Magnificent Seven, your tech-oriented, your AI-focused stocks have done exceptionally well, this is probably too short to call it a trend. But what we have seen is this weird reversal where right now the S&P 500 is actually seeing your value sectors hold up pretty well. We can subtract energy from the equation just because energy is this, as we know, it's very sensitive, very cyclical. Any issues you have in the Middle East or any type of conflict you have around an oil producer, that's going to lead to oil prices going up. So commodities going up, that's more inflationary and short-term in nature. But the other sectors where we look at materials, utilities, and even financials, you compare that to technology now, that is a pretty interesting trend where you saw a pretty sharp rally in value sectors. And to the comments earlier about all type of news being viewed as bad, we now entering this tipping point where finally value is going to get recognized, or will we kind of go back to some of the old stuff? This is an analogy I use, and I apologize if this falls flat, but whenever I'm flying and there's turbulence, right? You always look around, you think, okay, how many people on this plane during turbulence are all of a sudden they atheists or are they suddenly believing? God, yeah, because this is the number where we go down, right? And I feel that this analogy with the market, when you think about value doing really well, everyone ignores value. Everyone ignores the fundamentals, the cash flows, good companies. They'd rather go with a CEO that's going up to space and just
Idiots in your analogy, or?
Well, no, I wouldn't raise Methodists. Don't blame me for that. That's what my parents were, and that's what I. So, but
You see the value holding well as. That was actually a serious.
The quick answer is yes, I would see that as a good thing. I deliberately avoided mentioning that. So
It's impossible.
But it is very interesting.
All news and good news for global low.
Yes, absolutely. And I would say that, going back to the analogy of believing, right? The market now.
We're not going to get off that, all right?
Does the market believe the fundamentals are wrong? Amen to you, thank you. So, this definitely shows a very interesting trend, and to Chris's point, I think tying that all into the portfolio to asset allocation, we have exposure to growth, but we're not overly exposed to growth. We have exposure to value, we're not overly exposed to value. We have the private markets exposure, and I think that all of this re-emphasizes the importance of having a portion of the portfolio that kind of nullifies all of this noise, because while we are positioned, because it's an election year, statistically speaking, in election years, the market does end on a positive note other than 2008. We still are going through this very bumpy ride in the marketplace. So minimizing as much as we can the down and participating in as much of the up as we can, I think is, it continues to be the best course of action for us. So those are the comments from this end. And we'll happily take any other questions that you have.
So to summarize, our allocation works for the type of market we're in.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And private markets, I think, the timing of the presentation, the conversation that we just had, talking about expectations, we're thinking about, let's say 70% IRR. We may still get 17 double-digit % returns from the equity market. For the difference between private markets right now and the public markets right now, within the private markets, it's more of a smoother ride because the noise, GDP statistics on a particular day, that's not going to impact the valuation of your private markets allocation. Whereas your public markets on any given day could go up a few hundred basis points, go down a few hundred basis points. So really, I think the timing of the private equity discussion really just reinforces how other portions of the portfolio may be a lot more sensitive to these headlines and the irrationality of the market right now. But there's other portions of the portfolio that are really holding strong for us. It will be nice to see fixed income firmly back in that territory again, once interest rate policy does essentially settle on whatever it's going to be. But right now, a lot of the stability that we're looking for is coming from private markets. And as things normalize with the interest rate environment, some of the weight that private markets have to carry, fixed income will hopefully be back in a position to be in that reliable ballast in the portfolio. And then when we think about equity volatility, the market going up and down, it's less of a concern because fixed income and private markets would be the buffer to that. And then when equities do rally, we'll be very comfortable with the fact that fixed income is lagging because the role of fixed income is once you get to really tight pricing with the noise that it's seeing. But right now, private markets is fulfilling that role for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Therefore,
Quickly, security lending, 31,179 for the month. 72,241 year to date, and 52.3 million of the board to go on the program. Local and diverse AUM, by basis 57.73%, diverse managers standing loan 29.99, local and surrounding counties 9.06. I would note, a slight decrease was primarily attributable to two factors. One, the large infusion of the RP cash, which happened slowly being invested. That obviously is going to deflate on a percentage basis. Everything else. Also, we use the most recent private markets data, which is third quarter. So those two things together are really what you're focused slightly.
leave your overview timeline because you guys know.
Yeah, so essentially, we're supposed to begin next week with some of the initial allocations that we had sent to the company. That's obviously all dependent on, or not all dependent, but somewhat dependent on what action the Federal Reserve is going to take at the end of month meeting, as well as the commentary that follows that meeting.
once we hear what the chairman and the governor say next week, we'll obviously circle up as a staff and with the consultant, see if anything's changed in our view in terms of the recommendation for those applications. If it hasn't, we'll inform you as part of the weekly update or a subsequent email. If we are having some concerns that something needs to change, we'll obviously inform the board of that. Not take any action until we've had a chance to review it all.
I would say that the thing that we're navigating the most, as you noticed, is the interest rate environment. So at the end of last year, beginning of this year, we even said it, there were very unrealistic expectations around interest rates, where the market was praying for 7 interest rate cuts. I don't know why people say praying, but
It's on the off by 7.
yes. But it was looking for these 7 interest rate cuts. Obviously, in recent weeks, we've heard that the economy, well, up until today, the economy had a lot of positive indicators. So the Fed was likely to keep interest rates where they were, but they were still leaving room for a cut. We're now looking at potentially 2 to 3 cuts this year. So it'll be interesting to see at the next meeting whether the Fed will take this GDP statistic to kind of go a little bit more dovish, just to say that, this is the rough timeline we're looking at, or these are the catalysts that would lead to interest rates coming down. If that happens, I think we can expect a pretty strong rally in the marketplace. If there's more greenness and hedging and just economic language from the Fed, we can expect more volatility in the market, and some of the anomalies that we just mentioned. Magnificent Seven still dominating from a market cap standpoint, but all of a sudden, value probably a lot more attractive. So it'll be interesting in the coming weeks to gauge how the market's going to react to these things.
And then lastly, for staff's report, just the next thing is scheduled. From the 7th.
From May 23rd, I'm going to be out of town. We got meeting.
Or the week, like that week.
This is Thursday. Yeah, it's the weekend before, it's the week before.
No, I think that's Thursday.
23rd,
That's the third.
that Monday, and the 27th.
So
Right,
instead
so
of
the week before Memorial Day. Right, it's the
It's
Thursday.
the third before, more than.
Yes.
Start.
What other work? Yeah, that work.
No,
It's,
Tuesday, Wednesday, what, week, the next week?
I'm out.
So we're never not gonna have. We're not gonna have numbers.
So can you take to the 30? Oh, that whole, weekend.
Maybe we should just kind of send dates out, figure it out.
The following week, definitely.
We just. One person saying.
Any other? Any old business? It's a move about things that, that's what we need. Like to call the school board into session. There are to approve the item, the action taken at the electric committee. We moved probably seconded. Oh, approved. Paul, I think I don't know the roll, but Brian, Billy, approved. Carol, approved. Marcia, Kristen. So Mary, any new business? Old business. You're adjourned. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
So good.